What's up, y'all? Howdy and welcome back to my bench here in Houston. That's right, it's Rogers here, and I'm back from the grave. So first, I'd like to apologize to my longtime subscribers for my inactivity. I'd like to welcome the new guys that I've picked up. Thanks for subscribing. I hope that you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, and that you'll continue to. And then I'd also like to say that this channel is fed largely by need. So I do take suggestions. I like to hear what people want to know about. I've already gotten a few, and those videos, I'm working on them right now. Suggestions really help, so bring them on in. Now, this particular video is done in collaboration with Hunterseeker Armory. And I'm going to put links to his website, his Shapeways storefront, and his YouTube channel down in the link description, or I'm sorry, the video description. And I'd like to thank him for everything that he did to help me be able to make this video. Now, what are we talking about today, right? Some people might have already guessed. Those of you who haven't, it's R-hops. Now, what's an R-hop, right? It's these little guys right here, right? This little patch of tubing or whatever it is, right? Now, if you don't know what that is, if you don't know why is he talking about little pieces of silicone tubing, then you really should. So I'm gonna put some links up, pause my video, right? Go watch the videos and then come back. Okay, hopefully now I have your attention, right? Hopefully you've gone, watched the videos, or maybe you've already seen them, and you're saying, alright, come on, let's get to it, that kind of thing. Alright, so why are we doing this, right? Well, there's still a lot of voodoo surrounding R-hops, and I'm here to address it. Now, we're going to do it pretty simply. First, I'm going to talk about the actual R-hops themselves and, the nubs, that kind of thing. We'll talk about supplies, and we'll talk about tooling, that kind of stuff. And I'll just, I'll give you my own little tips and tidbits and how I like to do things. And then we're going to talk about the actual installation procedure, like so how to actually put it in, at least the way I found was consistently successful. And then we're going to talk about some expectations, right? Because it's after you've seen the videos, you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, I could probably knock a tank out at like friggin' 1,000 yards, Well, not quite. There are limitations to airsoft that are just inherent to the beast. So we'll address those then. And testing. Every once in a while, you put something in, you think you did a good job, and then you find out, oh crap, this is wrong, that's happening, whatever. And it's great to have installation videos, reviews, tips for everything, but it really sucks when you get everything installed the way you thought, and then you're thinking, well, why is this happening, right? Why do I have this wicked hook, to the left or the right, up, down, however it may be. So we'll talk about that. Now, this is going to be a 3-part video. It's going to be long, and if you know me, if you know my videos, when I say long, you're probably thinking, oh god, I'm not even going to watch it. Here's what I'm going to do for you guys. I haven't really done this much in the past, but I think for especially real long videos, you guys are going to appreciate it. I'm going to index the video for a couple of reasons, but mainly so that guys who already know kind of what you're looking at, but you're curious what I might have to say about particular pieces of it, or if you're using this video to actually install and you need to jump back and forth through it. I just want to make it a lot easier for you guys, because I know my long videos, especially since the scenery doesn't usually change a whole lot, it can get a little intimidating or boring or muddled up. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you stick around for all of it. I have plenty to say. And welcome back. It's good to good to be doing it again. All right. So this is part 1. It's going to be largely talk, but there's quite a bit that's important. So stick around. detail. The main three sections are going to be, one is the detail about the product, real small stuff. I'm not going to talk too much about that. What you need, that'll be, I'll talk a little more about that. And then the main thing is what to look out for. I didn't want to put a bunch of little tips spread out through the videos, because, man, it's harder to find the tips that way. I'd rather have one section that you can come back to of, okay, these are all the things I was supposed to look out for. You might find some of your own, but these were the big ones for me that made my life much more difficult until I figured them out. So, detail. The first things that we're going to talk about, I guess, is just, there are different types of patches. You can see here I have a few. There is a black and a blue translucent one. The black is solid. They both do the job, but they're different. Go to Hunterseeker's website, links in the description. I could tell you the differences, but I think it's better you familiarize yourself with his website, and it's probably better for the originator to actually show you, or well, tell you the difference anyway. Let's see. The next thing is going to be where to buy them, right? It wouldn't take too long with a Google search to find some. The three places I know of, just off the top of my head, are Hunterseeker's website himself, or the Armory. There's Airsoft GI, which is fine, and then there's Clandestine. My own plug, my own preference, I'd say I'd prefer that you guys go to either Clandestine Airsoft or Hunterseeker, because though I don't really have a problem with GI, it's nice that they offer so many different guns, and without the guns the industry doesn't work. They have tons of tactical gear, Lottie friggin' die, all that stuff. It's great, but they're also a massive company, and these innovations weren't made by massive companies, and a lot of the more particular parts you can't find from them. Like, for instance, I don't think you can find specific tools there. I don't think they sell this stuff. They're not necessarily in the business to provide real top end kind of crazy stuff. They'll sell what's popular, so they do sell R-Hops. But anyway, that's my thing, is buy from Clandestine or Hunterseeker himself, because it's going to help support those guys and keep them in business, because they sell parts, real high-end parts for internal stuff that these bigger companies, especially e-bike, typically don't carry. So it's my plug, man. Just, I'd prefer that you guys got it from, supported the smaller guys. Next, what do you need, right? Let's kind of do this quick. The parts, of course, you're going to need your patches, okay? You're going to need nubs, and it's not a newbie, but rather this piece replaces this piece, okay? This is a little H pattern nub that usually goes into your hop up underneath the arm. Now, you can buy them from Hunterseeker, or and they're nice, they're gushy, you can cut them to fit the window just perfectly. They have an adhesive on the back, so you can stick it to the the hop up arm, or you could cut an eraser up if you're on a budget. But these are very convenient and they work really well, so if you have the budget, buy it. Otherwise, get creative, guys. The next thing is the arm. The stock hop-up arm is probably not going to work, because it has a cup to grab the cylindrically shaped nubs that usually come in guns, or even that type of upgrade one. Now, you can use the stock hop-up arm and just sand or file it flat to where it will it'll actually press on this evenly. That's fine. Or if you can find an arm for sale, then put it in the comment section, because I haven't found one. But if you can find a flat arm like that, cool, you know, go ahead and get it, but just make sure it's going to actually fit your hop-up assembly. It's probably going to be better just to shave it. The next thing is going to be bucking. You know, there are tons of buckings out there. The most important part is probably to find a bucking that fits your air nozzle and that seals to your barrel well and all that kind of stuff. These are standard type buckings. I mean, this one might as well be a stock bucking. It has that little nub on the inside of it, that little mound. It even has the spline right here. This one is a V-cut nub, or yeah, it has like a V-cut little bump in there. I don't know if I can show it on the camera. Maybe you can kind of see it. Anyway, so that you have to get rid of. Okay, the patch is actually going to end up, you know, a lot of you guys probably already know this, so I'm, you know, sorry if I'm making it boring for a second here, but just in case there's anybody who doesn't, the patch actually fits into the barrel like that. Now this is a real tore up one, but serves the example. So you need to either roll this one inside out and cut the nubs off, or this is a Prometheus one that comes flat, just, you know, molded flat. So if you can find those, cool. This one came with the Delta Strike barrel, really nice barrel. And then let's see, tools. So okay, it's not a Rogers video if there's not a friggin' caliper in it. Okay, buy yourself one. Just stop avoiding it. Okay, buy it. You'd be surprised how many uses there are for these things. Okay, especially in real fine tuning. I'll show you, you know, later on what it's used for, but just buy one already. Let's see. Pliers come in handy, especially for rolling the buckings inside out. I suggest getting some like these because they're just awesome for grabbing springs and stuff like that. Let's see. You're gonna need a blade of some kind. Now, okay, this is a razor blade, right? Super sharp, really works. This is a prison shank, okay? Like, you can probably see it. Yeah, you can see the scoring shining in there. I mean, this, if you try to cut an R-hot patch with this thing, you're gonna have the most haggard POS you've ever, like, get a sharp knife, okay? A sharp blade of some kind, and I really suggest one that's real thin. The next thing is that I really very highly recommend is that you go to Hunterseeker's website or his Shapeways or to Clandestine and pick up his installation tool. You could install an R-hot patch without it, but I wouldn't want to be you doing it. It would really suck. This fits in the barrel. We'll talk about it more later. Now, this piece looks like a complete ripoff from Hunterseeker's thing. I get it. It's might as well be, but there's a very, very key difference. Okay, it was inspired by this, and that's why the design is very similar, but it is different in one particular way. This one fits the outer diameter of the barrel perfectly. However, this one is designed to go around the outside of the barrel with a piece of sandpaper. So, if you try, you know, my idea was, okay, I want a sanding jig, something that's makes it easier to sand the OD of the patch. Well, if you put a piece of sandpaper in here, since it's already shaped to the outside of the barrel, it grabs the edge, right? No good. So, I made this tool. It's available on my Shapeways storefront. Voodoo Armory is my company. Just, if you want something to help you sand, you can press the sandpaper into this and put a drop of super glue here, you know, in the 3 spots. And then it's real easy. When you take it off, you can just cut it with a knife or whatever, you know, scrape it off and then replace the paper. but it's meant to, you know, be longer so you can get longer strokes, fewer of them, and sand the OD of the patch down. And then finally, talk supplies real quick. Sandpaper, I use 400 and 180 grit. This is, I think, just, yeah, standard 3M sandpaper. It doesn't matter where you buy it, just something that works. I don't like going too much lower than 180 grit because it starts getting, the mounds of the paper actually start getting so tall, of the grit in the paper, or the abrasive in the paper, start getting so tall that, well, I was going to show you, but it basically, it starts scoring too much of the patch out without shaping it properly. So, or it can at least. So 180 grit's a pretty good, you know, pretty good option. Silicone and super glue. I recommend that if you're going to tech a gun, that you just have both of them anyway. I mean, they're useful just for any purpose. I'll talk more about those in a little bit, but and then some floss. Though you don't need floss if you have the silicone necessarily. So the final thing is abrasives. Now, these two guys, right? Super glue, silicone. There are two different ways to adhere the patch to the barrel. Silicone has to cure for 24 hours, and it hardly holds the patch at all. It also, like, once it's cured, it doesn't really adhere the patch to the barrel. It can be ripped out really easily, but it's easy to clean out, and it doesn't have much adhesion initially. So meaning it's just a paste at first, you know, until it's cured. Super glue cures, I mean, faster than you can sneeze, and it's much more difficult to get out of a barrel, though it's not going to kill it. I usually pick at it with something. You can get it out, it's just, yeah, it is kind of a pain. But the trick is, whereas this one's a paste and won't creep, this will actually roll around an edge, find edges, and run through it. Because it's like it tries to lay as flat as possible. You know, it's not too bad. I'll show you how to keep it from creeping. So just whichever one you work best with. The knife edge I kind of talked about. You need to make sure it's sharp. And then also when you press down, make sure you press straight down and not at an angle down, or straight down at an angle. See what I'm saying? So straight down at an angle. Because you want the cleanest cut on the patch possible. Window angles. Right, square cut window. Square cut. And you can barely see it, but this one has an angle to it. The angled ones, you can either cut the patch real crazy like and make it fit the angles, or you can be really careful when you're sanding it because it makes it easier to rip the patch out. That's why I went with super glue on my other installation. Chemicals, you need to be careful what chemicals you use on our patches. It's easy to, well, I say it's easy. You can melt them with things, but I'll put a link to a description, or to a conversation on a forum that talks about that. And then OD sanding, I'm going to talk about it more in the actual process, but you need to make sure that you sand off as much as possible. Like, this should actually be flush, the OD of the patch. And then when you're sanding, and I'll admit I did, first few times I wasn't paying attention, didn't think to do it, the tool needs to be in. Okay? If you don't have the tool in, then you're pressing the patch into the barrel, it'll rip it out. So that's all I have to say for part one. It's a lot of talking. Part two is coming up, and we're gonna actually get to some action. Alright, so this is the actual procedure part of it. I want to talk about part selection, or I'm sorry, patch selection, the adhesive part of it, the sanding part of it, and then making the bucking work. So just to go over it again really quick, the things you need will be, you know, a sheet of paper and a pen if you want to figure out patch selection by hand, a caliper, a blade, sandpaper, a vise right here, right, the Hunterseeker 5 tool. So there's this is part of it, and then this is the other piece that goes with it. So you'll need that as well. You're gonna need patches, right? You know, those are the, I think, the IR hop, and then this is the Z kit R hop deal. Just one of the patches from it. You'll need a barrel, of course, because that's the whole purpose of this, and then buckings, right? So you'll need the 2 buckings, and then RTV, which is a silicone gasket maker. So something equivalent, but Permatex does a good job. We used it in engines, so it should work with a barrel. And then super glue and floss. You know, these 4 things right here will come up. So right there, you can use those for damn near anything, right? Let's include the blade too. Just get those 4 things, because you'll be surprised how useful they can all become eventually. Okay, so let's talk about patch selection. Alright guys, you don't need much for patch selection, right? All you need, all I use, I should say, is my caliper, a sharp blade, and, you know, the actual patches themselves, of course. The thing that I think I've already mentioned, but that you'll note, is in a typical R-Hot patch kit, you get a shallow one where the cup is not very deep. This one's slightly deeper. You almost can't tell the difference. And then there's a big old deep one. Okay. So how do you choose which one is the right one? The quickest answer is the one that fits, and I guess I'll be less of a smartass now. And you know, basically, you want to figure, okay, well, the cup to the patch is so deep, right? This one's only 6 thousandths tall. I mean, they're honestly, the measurements are not going to be exact, but just it gives you an idea. The next one, the cup here, this is the middle one, is 16 thousandths, and then this one I measured at about 36 thousandths. Okay. That's the deep one. Now, when you do the measurements on the barrel, you'll find, okay, so say the barrel floor, so that's this edge down here, to the top of the inner diameter, is going to be so tall, right? On this particular Angel Custom POS barrel, it's 30 thousandths from the floor to the upper part of the inner diameter. Now, what does that mean? Why does it matter? Well, if this patch is 36,000, if the cup is 36 thousandths tall, then that means it actually sits high. The patch ceiling sits 6 thousandths above the inner bore, the ID ceiling. So even if this is perfectly flush down onto the barrel, it's actually taller. You know, like you'll get no patch protrusion. Like, it's not, the patch won't grab the BB at all. Now on the other extreme, you have this one where the cup is only 6 thousandths deep. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, when this is in there, right, the tool, because that's how that's how you ensure that it's basically, the patch is shaped to the barrel properly when you glue it on. Well, this one is going to stick up 24 thousandths, because the cup will come down, you know, it'll let the patch come down 6 thousandths, but, you know, it's still going to be lifted off the floor 24 thousandths, you know, or quite a bit. right? So there's going to be a huge gap between what I call the legs of the patch, which is, you know, the parts that come around, right? You know, the edges. There's going to be a huge gap between those edges and the barrel window floor. So have fun trying to get all of that silicone in there without getting it into the barrel. And then I'm going to go ahead and say you're not going to get the super glue right. It's going to creep into the barrel. So you can't have it to where it's too tall. You can't have it to where it's too shallow. I usually find the second patch is the right one because it's just shallow enough to where it will be lifted, right? But only about, in this case, only about 14 thousandths. So there's enough room to put your glue, your, you know, the silicone or whatever, and up for a small layer, but not so much that it's going to be, you know, that it's going to have this massive gap or whatever, right? So, like I said, the spreadsheet is going to have the actual math to do it. If you understand what I just said, then, you know, and you don't need to do the math, that's fine. I guess let's jump on to the next part of it, which is going to be figuring out your actual, the patch length. I like to do everything with a caliper because it gets you real close, right? So in this case, if I was trying to size a patch for this barrel, right, I'd measure the actual window length and not have it fly out. Hey, there we go. All right, so it's 240. So almost a quarter inch. So 240 thousandths of an inch, or 0.240. Now, there's something to consider if you're gonna cut the patch with my method, and that's blade thickness and the location of the edge on the actual blade. So this one is 17 thousandths thick. Okay, and close is close enough. And the blade, if I'm not mistaken, the edge is pretty much center of the blade. So 17 divided by 2 is what, 8 thousandths, you know, 8.5. So that means that when the patch is flush against this one side, but you bring it down to 240 or whatever, and then, right, what's going to end up happening is you're going to use the edge of the caliper to cut it. Well, if you put it right on 240, it's going to cut it 8 thousandths short because the blade's going to stick in from the wall because it's not actually on the edge that you're using to guide it. So, you know, you can consider that, but I think it's better to cut the patch a little bit short. You're not going to hurt anything doing it that way. And just overall, it's just kind of better that way, honestly. So, you know, figure, okay, if it's 240, maybe you'll put it at, right, at 240 straight up, say, okay, that's good enough. You know, lock the caliper down. All right, say I'm going to use this middle patch. That's what I decided. Now, this part's going to be kind of hard to show on the camera, but basically lay the caliper down and push the patch through until it meets straight flush, and you need to kind of get over it here and look straight down on it, but basically you're trying to push the patch edge flush against the caliper edge, that one. Now take the blade, bring it to the side of the table to where like to where it'd be, you know, you can actually put the blade straight down, because you don't want to do this like angling and wiggling stuff. You want to cut straight down. All right, like I said before, straight down, not at an angle, straight down. Okay, and that's because it's going to cut the patch all kinds of funky, and have fun with that. So try to get your, sorry guys, I know this is, I'm not really showing it real well here, but bear with me, and really this, you should understand the idea, right? Push the patch flush against the caliper, you can see it in here, and then get it up against the edge of the table to where the blade can make even contact with the table. Put it up against the edge of the caliper, press straight down. Straight down. Okay, not in an angle. Try not to wiggle, but I mean, push straight down, then maybe wiggle a little bit back and forth straight, so that you know that it cuts evenly. But hopefully it should, you know, you should pass straight through it. Especially if the blade's sharp enough. And so then you're gonna have a patch cut to pretty much the length you're looking for. Okay. Now this one, you're gonna see all kinds of light shining in funny places, and the guys who know what they're looking at are gonna say, good God, that patch is tore up. And it is, but it still works. It still fires well, so whatever. And that's one of the nice things is, generally speaking, as long as the inside of it catches the BB right, the outside can look as haggard as it needs to. But anyway, so you'll get the length correct, okay? And you now know that the inner protrusion should be, you know, like your lift right here should be pretty good to where you can get the super glue in and everything. So that's patch selection. Like I said, the actual, whether you use the blue or the black ones, I'm not going to say. Go to Hunterseeker's website, read about it, he'll explain it, that kind of business. Alright, so the next part is adhesion, right, is actually sticking the bucking to the barrel. I'm sorry, not the bucking, the patch to the barrel. Because it actually needs to be solid on there. You can use silicone. It's like a paste, no initial adhesion really. If you do that, that's fine. Put some on your thumb and use the barrel to scrape it off your thumb or your index finger onto the barrel. Leave not a whole lot, because you don't want to press the patch in and, you know, make everything, like squeeze it into the actual barrel. Doesn't matter what you leave on the outside of the barrel, okay? You just don't want it getting squeezed into the center of the barrel. Now, if you choose to do it the super glue method, so that it cures quickly, or sticks quickly, you know, that kind of thing, that's fine, but you need to be worried about, or wary of creep. Now, the best definition of creep, okay, so here's some water. Right, here's the blade. I'm going to pick up a little bit of water on the blade. Alright, see how it's running down the blade, the water? That's what super glue will do, okay? When you apply it to a surface, it's going to creep and try to lay flat. Don't worry, you can work around it, but you really need to account for it when you put it on, the patch on, because you don't want that to, you don't want it to creep into the barrel. That's going to cause problems. So, my way of ensuring that you have no creepy, and clearly this is the method I prefer for adhering the deal to the barrel, is turn the barrel to where this edge, like the outside edge of the window, is coming downward. You're going to use gravity to make sure that it doesn't run that way, alright? Any more than what you tell it to do. You're then going to start squeezing your super glue. Where's the glue? Where's the glue? Where's the glue? Okay, so now I see it coming out on the barrel a little bit. I have a lot of air in this glue. That's unfortunate. Ah, there it was. So you're going to squeeze it out and basically kind of work it into the patch area, like push it up into it, squeeze the patch down on it, and oh shit, well that was a lot. I probably shouldn't cuss either, I'm sorry y'all. That's very unprofessional of me. Oh, Patch glued to hand, not good. It's hard, honestly, guys. For me, it's really hard to do that while on camera, because I like to get closer than and go really slow, and time doesn't permit. But it's okay. All right. Oh man, that sucks. I got some on the actual rod there. But you see what's happening, okay? I'm pushing it up until it gets to the edge, and then manipulating the patch and pushing the glue into the actual edge there, okay? That way there's not enough to creep into the barrel, and any excess keeps running downwards, right? Now you're gonna cover the side of the barrel in in super glue, but it's okay, and I'll show you why here in just a little bit. Okay, so now let's talk about sanding. You're gonna need your R-hopped barrel, or the barrel with the patch now in it. You're gonna notice that it's likely gonna protrude above the actual barrel right here some, and that's what we're going to fix, because if it's left that way when it's installed into your hop-up, then since the hop-up is shaped to fit the barrel, that excess is going to push down into the barrel, and then you're going to get a wicked overhop if it even goes in at all. You might rip the patch out. I mean, it's, the idea is to get it flush with the barrel. Now, the picture for the video is going to show the end product and everything, and the basic idea is just get it as clean and as flush with the barrel as possible. So something kind of like this. It's kind of fuzzy. I'm sorry. I wish the camera had a little bit better resolution, or would focus on my hands. But you can see it's pretty much flush straight up with the barrel. So next, let me go ahead and reinstall this real quick. Okay, so let's talk about sanding it, right? So for the sanding part, you'll need sandpaper. These are worn, clearly they're already used pretty well on the brass barrel here. The HS5 tool, which is going to go in right here, and then you're going to need, I suggest putting it in a vise and clamping the vise down. Now there are a few methods for sanding, but usually I like to start on 180 grit, and basically just hold it down this way, and see, right? I mean, the vise is moving around, but you can see how it just, you're going saddled with it, right? And then you can also basically wrap the bore and go this way. Now, this way is usually good for getting the middle of the patch. This way is usually good for getting the sides, though both of them will get it done. You'll see that you get gold onto the patch, or maybe silver if you're using a steel barrel. It's okay. You can use a little isopropyl rubbing alcohol, and that'll get it off. Let's see. It's pretty simple, though one thing I'm going to caution, and I can't caution this enough, is you need to have the tool in there, so that you're not pushing the patch down into the barrel, because one, you're not going to get enough sanded off because it's going to keep dropping down, and then also you're more likely to rip the patch out because it's going to allow it to twist and contort more. So sanding's pretty simple. You this part is definitely not rocket science. You just sand until it's done. What I will say is that a barrel like this with a square cut window is much more, it's a lot easier to sand with, whereas barrels with angled windows don't really like to work with you. They're harder to to adhere the patch in. They're harder to get the patch to match the window. Like this one, you can see is pretty much flush, and they're a pain in the ass to sand, because if you don't make it flush with the window, then it gives a gap for it to rock back and forth. And that's clearly a problem. So what I suggest is try to find barrels with square cut windows. If not, you can cut a square patch and then maybe use some RTV to fill out the edges. Just make sure you don't get it into the barrel. That's the front and back edges, like to make it, you know, to fill up where the angles aren't met by the square patch. See? So just, you know, good luck, be patient. Some barrels and patches are easier than others, so just, you know, keep working at it. All right. Okay, finally to the very end of the procedure section. It's been long, it's been arduous, I know. But this is going to be the absolute fastest section, so yay, you're at the end. Let's talk buckings, right? This was the last thing that I really needed to talk about. So really, don't cut towards your hand, kids. It's stupid. Don't do as I say, not as I do. Anyway, so I have already cut the little nub off this thing. I didn't do it on camera, sorry, but you know, again, trying to save time. So see where it had bent and how it's not there anymore? I left the ridge on, and it's for one reason. If the barrel already has a ridge, right, like this one, okay, so here's patch, right, ridge. If it already has it, then I prefer to leave this in, because when you put, I just like to think that it helps fill up that gap, so that when you seal the bucking, you're more likely to actually get a seal. Now, you can argue that if you put enough this stuff on there, then you shouldn't have an issue. And honestly, I think you're right. You know, you shouldn't. But that's just one of my voodoo paranoid tendencies, but I don't think it's completely unfounded. So I would urge y'all to do the same. Now, one argument that people are going to say is, well, but this is uneven, you know, where you cut it. Close is close enough, and if you use the M-nubs or something gushy, I think it's going to kind of account for a little bit of a bump, and frankly, it's not been my experience that that's going to make that much of a difference, you know. And if anything, sand it down, right? Just fix it, or flatten it, or, you know, whatever you need to do. But, you know, if you're real particular, fine by me, go ahead, cut the ridge off, turn it 90 degrees sideways so you have a clean casted part. Cool. So this is the nub. It came off in nearly all one piece, right? That's the little oh, that's upside down. There you go. So that's the mound there, right? You know, that sits on the inside of the bucking, and it's really simple, guys. You just come at it at an angle and slowly pull as you saw, okay, and you just twist the bucking, pull as you saw, saw more than you pull, saw more than you twist, if that makes any sense, because the idea is you want a clean cut more than you want movement, okay. But be wary of cutting too deep and, you know, funky angles. You should get that. Now, something to consider is, if you have a barrel like the Prometheus one here, that no has a ridge, then you most certainly need to get rid of that ridge. But I mean, the Delta stripe comes with the bucking, which is really nice. But if not, I think they're available online. Another thing you could do, if you want to get ridiculous with it, you could probably fill that with super glue. You know, you could do RTV, but it'd come out really easy. But fill it with super glue, and then use the sanding technique that goes to the side, right? You know, like, and you know, finish the barrel there, basically, like fill up the gap and sand it even. Then when you put your bucking on, hey, good, or you know, we are good to go, man. Now, I don't know if I really want to try flipping this inside out on the camera. I might look like a monkey doing it. I want to save some time. Y'all have been sitting here long enough. So, this is perhaps the best part of the whole equation. It's once you get your bucking done, you're sanded, I mean, everything's ready to go. That's it, baby. Now, most people are going to tell you that you really should, you should do some kind of sealing. Now, this is where the other supplies, there we go. There we go. I don't recommend trying to use this to seal the bucking to the barrel. Just saying. But, so floss, I'll put a link to a video that shows the flossing technique. I've talked about him before in my videos. He shows a good way to do it, and I'm just not going to reiterate. There's no point. There are also videos out there already that are, you know, they're good enough for putting a bead. Basically, you put a bead past the patch, fill up that kind of thing. I suggest that you roll the bucking backwards just a little bit, put it on, roll it down, right? Maybe circle around it, holding gently so that it puts, you know, you put even pressure around the stuff, and that's it. Whether you floss the bucking or you seal it with RTV, you're good to go, guys. Then, you know, shove it in the hop up. Now, I was thinking about talking about putting this in there, but honestly, I think there are enough resources out there for you to look that up. And I'm already 6.5 minutes into this section. It's really simple, guys. Disassemble your hop up, shave this down, you know, the arm to where it'll fit the flat patch in there. Cut it to fit the window inside there, right? With the barrel installed, put it in there, reassemble, and you're good to go. Install, go play. So I talked about doing a testing section, like okay, I got it installed, it's not working, troubleshooting kind of thing. I'm gonna cut the video at this. I'm gonna do that another time. There are a couple things I could say, but you know, honestly, this video is long enough. So do your R-hop, go out, shoot at some people, or a stop sign, or you know, cardboard boxes. That's popular in the industry. So go out, don't get in trouble. You know, always have an orange cap on your gun, right? Don't take it in public where people can see you, and don't shoot at people who aren't playing airsoft. All that kind of crap. But you know, really, go out and test it, see what you get, check the results, and until I make a video, either go find other sources that talk about it, or you know, get creative. Try to figure out what might have happened yourself, and I find that a lot of times I'm sitting staring at stuff a lot, so I suggest you do the same, because it can be enlightening. Sometimes you come up with stuff that you never thought you'd think. You know. Anyway, thanks for sitting here watching through all this, guys. I know it's been a long video. It's probably about an hour long. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your feedback, and you know, this has been one that's kind of been a long time in the making, I guess, but I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad to be making videos for you guys. I guess the next one for sure will be about motors and drivetrain, because there is still a lot of voodoo magic out there about that, and it's not that complex. But anyway, so have a good day, guys.